Last season we covered 30 builds with the playlist, almost reaching 20,000 views alone, which means it's clear you guys like these sort of videos. So today, I bring you the very first build of the season. Now this is a new hunter build that lets you melt champions and bosses with a few shots of hand cannon ammo. Yeah, these builds are just getting more interesting. Well, in this video we'll be going over the setup of the build, DPS numbers and all that crazy stuff. This new playlist will feature a mixture of the top best builds, fun builds, and yes, some broken builds in Destiny 2 Season 15, or Season of the Lost, and this playlist will conclude when Season 16 starts. Now 2 quick announcements before we start. Firstly, this video is sponsored by Oea, so to get your hands on some cheap silver for Destiny 2, be sure to check them out and use my code DIVIDE for a discount. Link below. Secondly, in celebration of reaching 10,000 subscribers, I am doing a free giveaway that any of you awesome peeps can join. That link is also below. Entries close on Thursday the 2nd and the winner will be announced in next Sunday's 3rd build video. But now opening up that playlist are the hunters. You're up first. Rate, comment, sub, and of course share, and roll that intro. So we have a crazy new OP hunter build that lets your hand cannons deal a stupid amount of DPS in PvE using a new buffed Lucky Pants. And with a combination of specific perks and mods, we will enhance this initial build to optimize it for usage in endgame content, whether you intend to use this build in Legend Lost Sectors solo or Master Nightfalls. This build will feature all the required champion mods for the game, so it doesn't matter what activity you're going into, you will or should have every champion covered when needed, including the majority of match game shields. Now introducing a new playlist for Season 15 is this new hunter build, so if you enjoy these sort of videos, then as always, be sure to check out that playlist for more awesome builds like this. And yes, right now there's not many, but over the weeks that will soon be populated with new crazy builds. But this build I will be using a mixture of Legend Lost Sectors and Master Empire hunts as the background gameplay, for that feel of how you should be using this build. So firstly, I want to go over the Lucky Pants exotic before we create the build and see how the damage compares when using it and not using it. So this exotic did get a change which reads, when you ready a fully loaded hand cannon that deals kinetic damage or a damage that matches your subclass energy type, each hit from hand cannons increase the damage of the next shot for a short time against a combatant. Hand cannons ready faster and are more accurate immediately after swapping to them. Now that damage buff is a 60% increase in damage per stack, stacking up to 600% with a total of 10 stacks for all hand cannons in the game. However, Eriana's Vow is an exception, stacking up to the max of 300% at times 10. The buff lasts 5 seconds and has a cooldown of 10 seconds. This is not a full DPS breakdown video, so below will be a link to a full guide and breakdown of the new Lucky Pants over on Reddit, so you can see everything about that if you want to. So here in our usual testing loss sector, we are going to first use the Eriana's Vow, which is what we will be using for the build. So using Eriana's Vow, we'll have a consistent damage shot of 22,513, which as you can see, is nothing really special. And that total damage of a full clip of 9 comes to 202,617. I should also mention that this is with the First Glance perk active for increased damage, which we will be using in both tests. Now using Lucky Pants, we can hit a lot harder using Eriana's Vow with the First Glance on top, hitting over double the initial damage at times 5, so realistically speaking, within the 5 seconds you have, you should be able to pull off roughly 5 to 7 buffed shots with the Lucky Pants, making your total damage per clip at least around 300,000, which is more than enough to melt bosses, considering you get 30 rounds in total for just your special weapon. And then you have your heavy weapon on top. In most cases, such as a Legend Lost Sector, at or just under the recommended power, you will kill champions in around 4 to 5 shots. Now next I wanted to take a look at Crimson, because that will be an alternative weapon to use with this build. So Crimson is a little different because it is a free burst, so each single shot in the burst will count towards the stack, so 3 triggers and you will have your times 10 buff. Now Crimson's normal damage per burst is 5,286, now times in that for a full clip, you'll get a max damage per clip of 42,288. But now using Lucky Pants and Crimson's high rounds per minute, you can actually unload the full clip in time with a few additional shots if dodging before the buff runs out. So you will get a max damage from one full buffed clip of roughly just under 200,000, which is just insane for it being a primary weapon with infinite ammo. And bear in mind you'll also unload that clip really fast. Now the last word I believe hits even harder and does more damage than Anarchy, and possibly even dual slug shotguns, but for being an effective PvE primary weapon in the endgame content, I would think Crimson and Eriana's Vow would be better, simply because Eriana's has a built-in anti-barrier mod, and Crimson has unique perks like healing on kills as well as refilling the clip on precision kills. So for the purpose of this build, we'll be using these two. Now this is a build guide and not a full DPS breakdown video, so I will leave some useful links below to places if you want to see actual accurate DPS numbers for everything. Otherwise we will be here all day, but from this you should have an idea of the differences between using Lucky Pants and not using them. Now moving into the build setup, optimised for legend and master activities, you will want to use any pulse rifle or bow in your kinetic slot. This is to stop overloads or unstoppable champions when needed. Eriana's Vow for your anti-barrier champions, alongside a good weapon for either additional DPS or ad clearing. The choice is yours, but for end game master or grandmaster nightfalls, I'd recommend running an extra DPS weapon and not relying on your hand cannon due to it requiring special ammo. For this build, I'll be running a pulse rifle, Eriana's Vow, and a sword. Bear in mind that we have passive guard and overload swords, so this could be a good combination to use this season. For the subclass, you will need to run solar due to Lucky Pants requiring the hand cannon to match the subclass if it's an energy, and Eriana's is a solar weapon. Now you can use any tree in anything of your choice, but for me it will be middle tree Shards of Galanor. I'd stick on a marksman's dodge if you want to maximise your hand cannon's DPS potential as well. Now the exotic we'll be using is of course Lucky Pants, as explained earlier, which will make your hand cannons deal a lot more damage, and this comes with a built-in hand cannon holster mod, which doesn't really benefit us with Eriana's if you've got the catalyst, but it'll still be good if using other hand cannons, as you can swap between the two infinitely. But the hand cannon we will pair with Lucky Pants will be for Eriana's, as it comes with a built-in anti-barrier mod. Now with the armor mods, you can slot these mods in any armor piece, as long as it doesn't have an energy type restriction. So starting from top to bottom with the mods for the helmet, we have Protective Light. This is to gain extra damage resistance against enemies when our shields are destroyed. Note that this needs to be in Void Energy armor to be slotted on. The Sword Ammo Finder for a heavy weapon, and Hand Cannon Finder for Eriana's Vow. Moving to the gauntlets, we have Shield Break Charge to become Charger Light as our first source, along with your champion mods, which is again adjustable with this build, so you can use overload swords, bows, or unstoppable pulse rifles. You won't need to worry about anti-barriers because your Eriana's Vow will do the trick. If you don't need two champion mods, swap the one you don't need for a heavy ammo loader mod if using something like a rocket launcher, or for your primary weapon. But for the chest, we are using Supercharge to gain extra stacks to make our Protective Light better, Concussive Dampener to reduce splash damage, and Sword Ammo Reserves. For the legs, we have Taken Charge, another source to become Charger Light by picking up orbs, and then your ammo scavenger mods for your special and heavy weapon. Lastly for the class though, we have Distribution, which you don't need. You can swap this out to a special ammo finisher if you want. I'd see how you go with ammo first, and if you keep running out regardless of the DPS buff, then use it. But alongside that, we do have passive guard for our sword. The stats you want to max out for this build are resilience and recovery, but prioritise recovery first. Now all the alternative weapons for this build that you can use, firstly is of course the Eriana's Vow, Crimson, Malfeasance, The Last Word, Hawkmoon, and Sunshot. You can use Sunshot to make this build more of a Warmind build if you want, but I wouldn't recommend it because the DPS output of that weapon is not too good, so I would personally stick with Eriana's Vow. The Last Word is the best to use, then Crimson, then Eriana's Vow if you're specifically wanting to maximise your DPS. But just bear in mind that you won't have anti-barrier mods if using those two primary weapons. The artifact setup is this. Yes, I'm still a noob, I haven't leveled up yet, but that is what I've got so far in case you are wondering. Now this build overall is probably in my opinion one of the new top tier meta builds for this season, and I'd strongly recommend using it when doing master activities, even when underpowered. Remember that you won't be invincible, no build can properly achieve that, maybe some, but it will help a lot more using this build than not using it. Now guys, that is all for this first new Hunter build of the series. Next you should go check out the playlist for more upcoming builds this season, as there's been a lot of changes in the game recently, and I do have a lot more crazy build ideas that I want to get through at some point, so stick around if you want to see more. Builds will be uploaded every Thursday and Sunday, with the additional ones on Saturdays when possible. So stay tuned, and thank you all so much for your support, for helping us reach 10,000 subscribers, and I'll see you for part 2 this Thursday. Peace.